Okay, well, welcome everybody again. As you may know, the theme for this conference from last week and this week has been Pandora's box. Now, you may not know the detail of the story of Pandora, but what happened was Pandora opened the box, and inside were lots of bad things. But at the bottom, there was something called hope, and that's what we're looking at today. Today, we've got a good hope for the future, and we are going to cover that in a way. I will introduce it in a minute. But just a little word about the Future Work Forum, as Alpa's introduced us as a group of interesting people, a think tank who've been going for something like 20 years, a group of 20 plus people now, who all of whom have a different interest in the future of work. And the fascinating thing is that we get together physically when we can, but more often we're regularly, because we have people around the world, regularly meeting on Zoom and virtually. We give a worldwide view of the different aspects of the way that work is evolving. And we have a particular focus, therefore, on how that's impacting organizations and the leadership in organizations. Some of our members are ex-HR people, but we have a real mix of people from all over. So we now can look at the theme from Pandora and see what we're doing in the box itself. So if we look at open up Pandora's box and what happens, we see all sorts of things, negative things potentially happening. We're in a world of rapid change. How are we going to keep up with all the change that is going on? Okay, and we are looking at, as we've already been saying briefly, with AI and technology potentially taking over work. And who's subservient to who? Is it a technology telling us to do what to do, or are we in charge of the technology? We're at this interesting stage, as Alpa said, stage in history where we have a new industrial revolution, if you like, where AI will replace a lot of traditional jobs, threatening the professional classes more so than other automation has impacted. But that releases people to do more interesting things. And part of the theme today we'll see is how positive we can be about getting meaningful jobs and meaningful work. But this is against a background post-pandemic, particularly of work being something that is stressful, the declining mental health amongst people who are working, people without careers because the career ladder doesn't exist anymore in the same way. People who are insecure about employment, they're not sure. Used to be you had a job for life, that was easy. Now, a job somebody goes into in their early 20s probably won't exist in 10, 20 years' time. So there's a whole set of insecurity about the future and people worrying, therefore, about will they still have a job? Will they still be able to maintain a standard of living in a few years' time? And quite often people are quite demotivated at work because some of the meaning, some of the pleasure, some of the satisfaction from work has gone. It's become routine, which is a great shame because in the pandemic, we did get a scenario where people were entrusted to manage their own time more because they had to, were empowered to make decisions they wouldn't have made were they in the office. And suddenly they realized that they could be productive working from home. They could be their own manager, their own boss. And some of that's gone away. We have a lot of visible leaders saying, no, I want everybody now back in the office so I can see them. Is that because they're going to work more productively in the office, or is that just because of the importance, the vanity of the leader who wants to see his or her troops around them so they can command them? We're still in this borderline between command and control and genuine empowerment. And yet we have some very interesting examples of self-managed teams, organizations that are now able to work without much in the way of management because they genuinely trust and empower employees. So we think at the bottom of the box, Pandora's opened the box, but now our HR manager of the future is looking down further into the box and finding more positive things to come out. This is now leadership, which it can be much more human-centered because AI has been used as a tool. People have recognized that they can delegate things to technology, but keep the human stuff. Make sure that the work is something that is satisfying, engaging, that people are inspired by the leaders, all things that's very difficult for AI to do, based on people's feelings, based on people's behavior, all the human stuff that is so important about working together with other people in teams and collaborating, which AI just cannot reproduce. And then individuals feeling rewarded. You notice the word feeling, it's not to do with reward as in how much they get paid, it's actually the personal satisfaction, which is something people get from work having meaning to them as part of their lives. It supports their personal life. And to do this, we have to have managers who are not any longer passing command down the organization, particularly the middle manager, but they are coaches. Interesting, if any of you have looked at Buurtzorg in Holland as a very flat organization, they don't have middle managers, but they have coaches. They have a whole team of people that help the self-managing teams to work collaboratively because they're coaching people to use their skills rather than telling people what to do. And that makes it inspiring and challenging, the work, and that makes it interesting. People want to go to do a job because they find it satisfying and it has meaning. But HR has to be there. HR has to be there to guide the culture of the organization. Culture isn't something that does just happen sometimes, but it shouldn't. It should be something that is consciously managed in terms of what kind of organization do you want to have? The number of times we get involved with senior executives and say, well, what kind of culture do you want? Well, it's kind of evolved, So how are you managing it? Oh, I don't know. Talk to my HR person. And it's often something that is not consciously managed. What kind of experience do you want the average person to have when they come in to work for you? And that is something that involves real empowerment for people genuinely feeling that they can make decisions, they can use their judgment, they can use their human skills whilst the technology does the other stuff. So we have a very positive view about our hope for the future, and that at this point in the evolution of work, it is something that it's a new industrial revolution, but it's one that is in releasing people from the routines of old 19th, 20th century work into genuine 21st century work where people can be empowered. Empowered is a word we use often in HR. Yeah, of course we want to empower people, but actually giving power to people is quite difficult. It does mean leaders genuinely losing some of their control because they trust people. Trust a key factor that, again, as AI can't trust you. Do you always trust AI? It's not. It's something that people have found can come up with all sorts of wrong answers because it's been fed the wrong information. It's only as clever as the information it has. So a fascinating time in the evolution of work and the evolution of HR. And so we think HR is there to help to embrace change, make change happen. So often HR's the holder of the current policies. You can't do that because we don't have a policy to do it, or we stopped. HR says no often, when HR should be embracing change, should be ahead of it, should be saying we want extraordinary results from workers. We do want to have people who are achieving a lot, and HR should be measured on the productivity of the organization, the satisfaction of the employees, not on the number of policies it can produce or whatever. And it has to do that through management that it can revitalize. I think there's some managers may be hopeless cases because they are just stuck in the old way of working, but so many are ready to change with the help of HR in terms of helping them to revitalize the way they manage, helping them to understand the difference between using technology and managing people. And HR has to be up to speed on what it is that technology can and can't do in order to understand the human aspects of work. Ultimately, though, we think there's hope at the bottom of Pandora's box, hope for the future. And we are choosing optimism as the way to go forward in terms of the future of work. So that's my introduction. So what do we got inside of Pandora's box today? We have 8 of our Future Work Forum partners. The first 4, then we have a break in the middle. First 4, then we'll have a panel session. So each one does a 7 or 8 minute presentation. We run straight into the next one. So if you have questions or comments, do put them in the comments column so we can collect them together. And then we'll discuss them at a panel session with the first 4 people on the first half, and then for the second 4 on the second half. So it's a busy time, and I will introduce them all individually as we go through. So I think we're ready now for me to go straight on to Samreen as our first presenter.